Thank you very much for joining us today. Today we have a friend who is kind of Christina, kind of a boogie. We don't totally know who she is.
Mm-hmm. It's boogie. Like
Oh,
shimmy, shimmy,
okay.
shimmy. It's
Boogie.
okay. It's okay.
Want to know something that's even more embarrassing? So as I have only seen your name written out for
Right.
99 up until now of
Yeah.
our relationship, I originally thought it was bougie, and I was like, this like makes sense for who this person is.
I'm definitely a bougie boogie for
Yeah.
sure. It fits in all of my like age. I was a nose picker,
Hmm.
and then I was a dancer, and
Hmm.
now I'm just a snob. So it just works the whole way through.
That's the best
So
part about nicknames sometimes. They carry with you your whole life.
yeah, it just morphed along with me.
Yeah, and
So yeah,
thanks for leaning in.
boogie or Christina, I'll respond to either. So
Yeah, and we kind of have an unconventional way of meeting, but maybe it's not that unconventional considering the way the world is going. But we met on
right.
a short-lived app for
the
lack of a better.
the best and worst thing to happen to all of us
I
was
know.
this beautiful app full of writers and introverts and creatives of all types,
Yeah.
where we bared our souls to each other in this trusted safe space. It was a beautiful thing, and then it was taken away from us,
Yeah.
and so we had to find other ways to stay connected.
Yeah.
Secret Santa being one of them.
Yeah, we had to come to more traditional social media. So, BJ
Yeah.
Novak, we still have not forgiven you for getting rid of List, but
Yeah. Number one, how dare you?
yeah.
That's our question for you,
Yeah.
BJ Novak.
I have a question. Number one, how dare you?
Yeah. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what does she say? Oh, big fancy man, fancy new whatever.
Big strong man.
Big strong man, fancy new whatever. That's exactly how I feel about him. Every time he tweets, I'm just like, oh.
How
Like
dare you?
woof.com. It lasted about as long.
And that his whole brand is like very much about text and writing rather than like visual things. He has that book without pictures.
Yeah, the
like,
kids book. Yeah.
excuse me, you took this away from us, sir. We will never forget this.
You don't get to write if we don't get to. It's been rough, but we've sort of all found little groups on all of them, because we've got a Facebook group, we've got a Twitter. I guess that one of the girls has a Twitter list of all of them, so if like you're missing any. And then I feel like Instagram is really the best because we have the close friends option in our stories, because that's where like I give you all the list stuff that I would have before, the stuff that I don't want, becoming anything else. Sometimes you're just like, oh, I'm annoyed at this. Like,
Yeah.
Twiggy doesn't want to, Twiggy doesn't want to be potty trained today. And if I post it, my family sees it, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, she still doesn't have that dog potty trained. And you guys are just like, she's cool.
Yeah.
Days are weird. It's cold outside, and then it's over. Like, it's not a thing. It was not a real complaint. It's just a moment in time.
There are definitely things like since then that I'm like, I really wish that I could just write a list about this and just all my list just know.
Like once a week, I'm like, can I just get on group chat with 100 of my closest friends that live all in different countries, states, countries, continents?
Maybe we can bring back Zanga and just like have our own little Zanga community or something.
Yeah, there was one. What's that thing called? Oh, Slack. We were like, maybe we can do 100-person Slack. That might work. I don't know how many people it actually is. That everybody has their little cliques within it, so it's probably way more.
I think that you were definitely like more like in deep. I was like on the fringe. I came to it a little bit late, and I'm still, this is applicable to most social media platforms, but I'm very awkward and I don't quite always know like the best way to like engage with somebody other than like, oh, I like this, like, yeah.
Yeah. It was good for that too, because it was like everything, it's not weird if you like something from 10 months ago. I'm gonna take off her collar. Hold on.
The aforementioned dame.
The Dame Twiggy. She's in a mood. So we'll leave her. But yeah, so I started on there kind of early, but then I sort of found I don't know, the whole place is my group. I don't have favorites, but I started talking about The Office. So that was like, hey, I'm one of you. And then I was telling people, this was like 2015 or 2016. And I was telling people why I liked Hillary Clinton before I even knew of Bill. And the comment section of that post was so controversial because a lot of the group were Bernie supporters. This was still the primary. And so it wasn't talking about her versus Trump, but that every comment on there is a person whose phone number I have, and several of them are people that I've stayed at their house or been to their, like, it was this, it was like a very small, well, I don't know, maybe like 10 people commenting, but they were like, yeah, she's our girl, and not just this year, like, you know, and I was for Obama in 08. So it's, you know, it's not that I didn't, it's not that I didn't change my mind back and forth, but I don't know, there's something about her. She's just so baller. Like, she was so awkward looking, and she had those massive glasses. She was like a hippie, but like a business hippie. And Bill was like the big man on campus, and you're just like, what about her got him? And every time I see the picture, it's like them at like 21 or something, and I'm just like, gosh, you must be so interesting. And then that's when I started digging in deep. I actually got his book. My parents always laugh because you get one big gift for Christmas and then little ones. And there were like 4 years in a row where I just wanted political memoirs, like in high school and middle school and high school. And so yeah, I'm looking at it right now on my bookshelf. So I got the My Life Bill Clinton one. I think was the year before I asked for a car. I wanted it more than the car. Like, I waited until I was 17 to drive. I was like, that can wait. I need Bill. And it has, you know, like a little photo section in it.
Well, you're definitely someone who has your priorities straight and very clear. And, you know, I admire and I respect that.
Yeah. You know, there's plenty of places to be your highlight reel. Facebook, for instance. Like, I'm on there twice a year by choice, a little bit more lately, unfortunately. But you know, it's my aunt's looking at it, my people that I don't remember from middle school, you know, being judgy or disagreeing, and it's just not fun.
Yeah,
it's not fun to have to like walk on eggshells when it's my platform, you know, like it's my page.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stick to the places, I stick to the rivers and the lakes that I'm used to, you know?
Smart. Yep, that's smart. We can all learn something, you know, from the wise worlds of TLC.
Right. So the funniest thing to me about this, what was it called? Podcast? Do we call this a podcast?
You know, I don't totally know. It is like modeled after a podcast, but I also made a very strategic choice in doing video because my hope is, because we are in our second lockdown, my hope is people will watch this and feel a little bit less alone, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I mean, I'm averaging like 8 to 12 hours a day of podcasts these days because, you know, what else are we going to do? But yeah, like doing a visual medium is a little bit different. I don't know if I can call it a podcast. I think that I feel like it feels too much like I'm an asshole if I call it a vlog. Maybe they're webisodes. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. We could go with webisodes. So the funniest thing is that this series is titled Pass the Cheese. And I don't know, I think I've rescheduled about 90 times with you. And the funny part of it is I'm allergic to cheese. So I feel like as soon as you told me the name, I was like, maybe that's why we couldn't get it together. Maybe my body was just saying no cheese.
So
I've had no cheese.
That's okay. You don't have to. No pressure there.
Oh no, I don't want you to see
the name. The name kind of came out of like a couple different iterations of what my like original intention was for this, and also like 50% of it is because I just like to eat cheese, and I'm like, yeah, like I can have a cheese plate, and that's how I can tie it in. But it's also something that like I myself identify with because it's a little bit cheesy, which I am. It's like not the coolest name, which I am. Like, I'm not the coolest person. Like, you know how sometimes you just meet people and you're like, oh my gosh, like I am not that person. So it's just kind of like me just like leaning into like, it's just like a nice, like we're just hanging out, we're eating some snacks, you know, like, yeah, having a good time.
Right. Mine would be like pass the Chex Mix. I feel like that has been replacing my cheese. Like when people would snack on cheese, I have Chex Mix. That's
Hey,
why.
this time is all about finding the parts of you that, help you make it through the day.
Absolutely. Whatever works.
Right.
Even if it's gin.
Yeah. You know,
You do.
you know,
Exactly.
you do you, boo. Yeah.
Hmm?
Well, I do want to go into one of my segments, which is like another
Okay.
reason that I'm like, maybe this is a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is
it's a vodcast.
um, which is called Pass the Cheese, where I compliment the guest.
Oh. This is
Yeah.
gonna make me uncomfortable. I'm so excited.
You're welcome.
Already blushing for the record.
What was that?
I said I'm already blushing.
Oh, good. Get ready. I mean, I hope it's a good one. Now the pressure is on. Like,
No, you're fine.
but we met in this very, I'm hesitant to say visual medium, but we were looking at it, and that's kind of how our relationship has been, and also like we all met 6 years ago, maybe
Yeah.
5, 6 years ago, and obviously a lot of us have changed, and like our lives are different, and we don't necessarily interact constantly, but I see you interacting with people like through that. And you are always like such a huge supporter of people. And you are always somebody who, like, if this person is like, hey, I need help, you're like right there next to them. And you're like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this through? And that's like really incredible. And you're totally somebody that like you want on your side and you want on your team. And like, if you're with us, like we're going to win. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, it's going. Like, watch out everybody else.
That's kind of always been, I mean, that's wonderful to hear. That's kind of always been my like thing, particularly when I was little in school. I would always grab the new student because I went to the same school K through 12. Mm-hmm. So if there was a new semester and there's an army kid or whatever that's there, I would just be like, send them to me, because like I don't want them. First of all, I don't want them getting with the wrong people, as in the bad influences. The third graders that were smoking on the stove. Oh, that's a fun story. I'm sure it'll make it in one of my books.
What?
But there, I'm like, well, tell me what you like, and I'll send you over to the soccer girls, or I'll do this, but I can introduce you. But even the once I got older, obviously, like maybe high schoolers don't need that kind of help, so it started being the special ed. When they were, people would treat them like like they're a nuisance, and I'm like, well, I mean, he's gone to school with us for 10 years, so why are we acting weird around him? Like, we were fine when we were all kids and we didn't know what Down syndrome or autism or whatever was, because autism was pretty rare.
This is my friend who's different, and all different in all different ways,
Yes. And it's like, well, no, he's fine. He can sit with us. He can eat, whatever. So yeah, it's always been my thing to I'm just so alpha, just by birth, and of course, my like I had a double dose of alpha from my parents and my grandparents. So I'm going to speak up. Mm-hmm. I may as well do something good with it, like I have a lot to say. Mm-hmm. So may as well, say it for someone else that maybe is holding back or is a little anxious. Also, like when people give me feedback, I try and hear it. We have a friend that had a stillborn baby last year around fall of last year. And she said she still wants her family to be considered a family of 4, even though there's only one living. And she's currently expecting a baby, and people keep saying they can't wait for her daughter to be a big sister. And I'm like, Charity is a big sister. This is a family of 5 now. She goes, you're the only one that said that. I was like, you told me to say, like you told me that's what, if you were a family of 4 with that stillborn, you still are forever. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of stuff where I'm always learning and evolving. It definitely wasn't that aware when I was 24 and I had friends that, lost babies or whatever. I didn't have the right words to say. So I'm just trying to be there.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I think that's really admirable, and I think that's wonderful, and I mean, that's potentially why, like, I gravitate towards you, because, like, that's also something that I myself am working on, and, yeah, I
Mhm.
even a few years ago, there was, like, things that we were saying and doing that we didn't necessarily know were appropriate, but, like, that's what, like, we hoped for, or we weren't talking about
Right.
that we needed to be talking about, and so we are just kind of like, "Oh, well, like I want to be supportive, and like maybe this is supportive, so like I'm going to say this because I've heard it in a movie," but then later you realize like, oh, that's not actually like the best way to support somebody.
Yes, and the pronouns thing, that's my new, like, oh, I'm trying so hard.
Uh-huh.
It's so new. So the issue is not like the celebrities, like Sam Smith being a they them doesn't affect me really.
Mhm.
It's the people that I know personally
Mhm.
that I like grew up with. I think there's only like two. But there's a person who I was in athletics with who we would change in the same locker room
Mhm.
that now is no longer identified as the same gender as me. And that one is the one I'm having the most trouble with because I'm talking about the past,
Mhm.
usually when referring to my relationship
Mhm.
with him. And it was a very, a French braiding hair, like it was sort of a typical sleepover type friendship, and it wouldn't have been.
Mhm.
So I have to really watch like how I recall memories. I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I've seen it with Caitlyn Jenner when people are like, her dad won in the Olympics. I'm like, well, that was, so that one's
Mhm.
like, I just put my pronouns in my bio. Like I'm so behind on it. I know the kids, like the 18-year-olds are so good at this stuff, but I didn't know why I needed them in there. And, I didn't know who I was doing it for. And once I was told like, hey, this is why you do it, you do it, and stuff.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
allowed to mess up. Luckily
Yeah.
they do give you a chance to mess up.
I like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I speak for anyone who's trans or non-binary, or like, or any part of that community. But for a long time, the conversations around that were not happening in
Right.
the bigger picture. And we could argue that they should have happened sooner, but they're happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so with like pronouns in particular, I didn't have them in my social media bios because I was like, oh, well, I'm not a part of this community. And I don't want
Right.
to be somebody, who's like basically like a woke white woman who's like, oh, but don't worry, like I voted for Biden and Harris. And you're like,
Right. But yeah, I'm progressive. Right. Yeah.
like you don't want to pretend that you're a part of a community that you're not a part of. But
Yeah.
then, yeah, I mean, somebody pointed out, like, no, we need to normalize this. And I was like, oh, you're right. Great. Now I know. Like, okay.
Done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
done. I can put it in email bios and like signatures and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I'm grateful that we're having those conversations and these people are now able to, to be more open about this. But yeah, like I also, as somebody who's like just very curious about a lot of things, I
Yeah.
want to have like I want to know more, but also I'm like, well, like it isn't really necessarily their responsibility to educate you or like let you know. And so that's also something that I've kind of been sitting with, of like I want to ask these questions, but I also don't want to put any burden on anyone. And so just
Right.
finding those spaces that I can figure out that information, whether it be a person to person conversation, which is, my preferred way to talk to people, but also like reading an article, I can get just as much out of that.
Yeah. There was, I guess it was like Trans Awareness Week.
Mhm.
Couple, I don't know when it is. I mean, I don't know when anything is because we've been in quarantine for so long. Couldn't tell you what month it is.
Mhm.
But it was in somebody's stories, like follow these trans IG accounts or buy from these queer companies,
Mhm.
and just like went and followed them, and bought a couple things, so it's like sometimes they give you direction and
Yeah.
they say, okay, here's a way to support us or to support, people I love.
Right.
And so that's always helpful. I love those kinds of people that are like, no, I can be the one that talks to you. But I also get, being a Black woman, I also get the exhaustion of educating I guess the privileged or the, people that don't understand the struggle and the, you know, the discussions and such that we have. Some of it is a lot, like some of it's heavy and it's stuff that I've dealt with and, you know, been traumatized by or whatever and have gotten over. So asking me to like reopen the wound is a little rough when, you know, I can recommend you a book or, you know, so that like that was in May or whatever with the George Floyd, you know, with the blackout. It was really the day that Instagram had the blackout that it was everyone asking me like, what can I do? And I'm just like, I'm not in
Yeah.
charge of this movement. I have not watched the George Floyd video. I won't ever.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to see somebody that looks like my uncle, you know,
Right.
being killed. So it was like, and then they would start recommending books to me, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I read that, and I also lived it. You know, there was one about a white passing Black girl and sort of how she struggled with the favoritism she got versus her sister. That's literally the story of my life. I have another white passing sister, and then I have a brown sister. I mean, she's my half sister, but you know, we have the same dad. And there's no reason for me to read that book. It's not, good things don't happen to those characters. So I don't want to picture myself, you know, in those moments. I've already done that work, I guess. So I had to keep that in mind with this, you know, with Hall of Pride Month, because of course that followed immediately after, and just try and get more into like, so sort of knowing the history. There's also that, what was that movie or that Netflix, like it was called like Disclosure or something. I don't remember what it's called. It was like a documentary about like the trans movement sort of becoming public, like going from like basically speakeasies in the 70s, like hidden underground clubs that with drag queens at the beginning, to then the Stonewall, and then, you know, now having what's Laverne Cox, you know, like and what's the other one, Janet, I don't remember her last name, but the Isis and all the girls in Pose, that sort of thing. So it goes from like the 70s to now. I can't remember what it's called. It's so good. I wish I could remember so I could recommend it, but
That's okay.
that was also helpful because I've had quarantine ADD, so I haven't been able to read a ton of books.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, something I can just watch. Let me do that. So it was really good. I'll text you whatever it's called so you can watch it.
This will come out not this coming week, but the one after. And then I always reach out right beforehand if there's anything that you want associated. But I know that what was that?
I was gonna say, if this is like the Christmas episode, I should have put on a Santa hat, but this is the post-Christmas episode. We'll be.
Yeah, it also might be my fault because I didn't exactly tell you when this was going to be coming, but you know.
It doesn't matter. It was, I mean, I'm the one who rescheduled it 90 times. You can pick the date it was released.
Yeah, so we are kind of at that. So is there anything that you want to bring awareness to or, you know, promote for anyone?
Oh, are we already done?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we didn't even get to Man Cave.
I mean, we can talk a little bit about it. So my intention originally for these conversations was to be around 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
Every single one of them has been 25 to 30. We are about 25 minutes right now. If we want to talk about it, we definitely can. You know, it's just.
I'm just gonna make my point real quick about Man Caves. Guys, man caves, where is the woman supposed to go? Like, why on earth is there a room she's not allowed in, but there's no room that you're not allowed in? If you answer the kitchen, I'm going to punch you through the phone somehow. But seriously, they just don't have a point. I don't like them. They're in every house on House Hunter. Oh, this can be your man cave. And my sister has one at her house. My brother-in-law has one, and it's like full of booze. It's got movie theater seats. It's got a 140-inch screen. I'm like, well, I want to watch a movie in there, but I'm a girl. And there's just no off-limits rooms for the guys. So I don't think there should be any off-limits rooms for the girls. So that's my main pet peeve. That was the topic I thought.
Whine about. Whine about.
Okay. I also I'm not sure if this is backwards, but my Hoodie does say the pandemic isn't over just because you're over it. And the main reason that we rescheduled so many times is because I got this sweater the exact day I got infected with COVID. And I had it for 8 weeks. It's very real. Take precautions, be careful. We're so close to it being over. There's no reason whatsoever to go and get it. Yeah, we're lonely, we're bored. So just plan a big old June family reunion so everyone can get all that. Everyone will be ready to go back home, essentially.
Right.
So okay, but the last thing is that I wrote a book. I actually wrote it in like 2016 and self-published it this year. This is kind of it with regard to the education for, I guess, when the parents were reading the Ta-Nehisi Coates and those sorts of books, the How to Be Anti-Racist, White Fragility, those books, I'm thinking, well, what are the kids reading, and what should kids be taking in? And I thought, oh wait, I have a book. And so I just went and published it. So it'll be a 3-book series. This first one's released, second one is coming out late winter, and then the third one will probably be at the end of summer. And it's called Bus Friends Forever. It's about 3 friends that meet on the bus. They're 3 different girls of color. So the main thing about my book is there's no trauma in it. I know I'm a sensitive kid. I mean, I'm still sensitive, but particularly when I was this reading age, I'd say this is for a 7 to 14-year-old, but all of the readers that I have are every age. I mean, my grandpa loves this book. So to be fair, I did model the principal after him. So he's like, he's watching it for his shout out. But, this book is about seeing yourself in a Black girl's body, right? So it's not about overcoming, it's not about, they're just living there. It's just a day in the life sort of thing, except it's, weeks. It's just a slice of life, I think is what they call it. So they are your normal kids. They're stuff I went through. They are stuff my friends went through. I went to predominantly white school district, but these kids I have just added, I would like say colored in my childhood with a couple more crayons. So there's almost every race is represented in here. Every book has more. So each time you think, oh, well, they left this group out. No, it's coming. It'll be in every book because there's new characters represented. But the point of this was just to say, hey, Black kid, brown kids, they're the same as you. Mm-hmm. So when you see their parents being arrested or when you see bad things happen to them, you can think of it as Mina, Alani, or Kara's parents, and you wouldn't want that to happen to them because you're just like them. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's maybe an approach a lot of people haven't taken. I know, we were always kind of told to be a little scared. I mean, as the Black kid that had to get the talks, it was, this is scary and you will not be safe here. But of course, visually, I am safe most places. So I did have very little issues with that, with perception. I also was a good kid, but taking that away is also realistic for a lot of different girls and boys. But the girls are the lead on here because I'm a little bit of a feminist if you didn't notice. So so that's my pitch for my book. Busfriendsforever.com is the best place to find out where you can get it. I would do gift packs. I will gift wrap if you would like. They will all be signed if you order from me directly, or the Literacy Shop, which is a Black-owned bookstore. Also, just a deep dive if you want to just see if the book would be good. The Instagram is Bus Friends Forever. So it's got the number 4 in it. And that has all the backstory, how I came up with the characters, how I picture them, and so on, as well as a couple of reviews from the exact, from my target audience. So that's what's going on here. The next one will be out soon. So definitely follow that IG page so you can get all the drops. The cover will be released any day now. So getting excited. Pre-orders and such will be coming up too.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Speaking of somebody who has been a customer of this, of the friends who have kids, the oldest kid, she just turned 2, and like the the day that she got it, she immediately was telling her parents, like, I want to read this to me now, kind of thing. And I've purchased it for other friends who have like kids that are younger because like, you know, sometimes kids read at higher levels, but also like you can read this to your kid at night, you know, kind of thing. So
exactly.
the newborn, you know, don't be afraid. Even if
yeah, I made it 10 pages a chapter, so you can do a chapter before bed. My friend read it to her 9-month-old, just bedtime story. Just mom's in here, mom's reading a book.
Yeah.
May as well listen, you know. So yeah, it's definitely for any age. And like I said, a lot of the parents will steal it from their kids and read it. They said they read too slow, I want it. So they'll take it and give it back. So, and thanks so much for supporting my books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm always willing to support anything that a friend does, you know.
Yes, same.
That's like helpful and productive to society.
Right.
I
Not like
saying that I'm not friends with too terrible of people, but you know.
right. Yeah, like we're not gonna buy them like more AR-15s.
Yeah.
Like those, I don't know that anyone would ask, but I won't do it.
And I won't help you with that. So
I'm not gonna help you with your hunting equipment either. So
well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for all you shared with us today.
thanks for being so flexible with my schedule, and you're just a wonderful host. I hope this gets tons of views and you just like start to run the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Really? Yeah.
Like, not that I'm going to say that I'm going to become an influencer because of this.
You are.
It is like, I'm trying to be clear with like the intention of like this, of like, it's okay if we're not wearing makeup, and like, it's okay if you're wearing like
no makeup. Yeah, that's why I put the glasses on, so I didn't have to do makeup.
Yeah, you know, because life isn't always perfect, and that's okay. You know,
yes.
We are a work in progress.
Forever. as soon as we're done being a work in progress, we're gone.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the only other option.
We shouldn't be afraid to keep learning at all times. You know.
No, it's not done just because you're done with school.
Exactly. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right, you have a good one.
You too.